Every once in a while, I see people complain about yo-yo healing. Yo-yo healing is basically bringing someone up from 0 HP with just a little bit of healing. This results in them quickly going down, and then bringing them back up again, like a yo-yo. As a counter to that, it's sometimes suggested to give people a level of exhaustion when going unconscious. This is a bad band-aid fix that I don't recommend at all. Welcome to Pack Tactics, where being a healer is suboptimal. So how does reaching 0 HP normally work? Well, let's go to page 197 in the player's handbook. When you drop to 0 HP, you either die outright or fall unconscious, as explained in the following sections. Instant death. Massive damage can kill you instantly. When the damage reduces you to 0 HP and there is damage remaining, you die if the remaining damage equals or exceeds your HP maximum. For example, a cleric with a maximum of 12 HP currently has 6 HP. If she takes 18 damage from an attack, she is reduced to 0 HP, but 12 damage remains. Because the remaining damage equals her hit points maximum, the cleric dies. Falling unconscious. If damage reduces you to 0 HP and fails to kill you, you fall unconscious. This unconsciousness ends if you regain any hit points. So usually beyond the first few levels, instant death is not that common. A lot of monsters' damage mostly scales with their number of attacks, which ensures more death saving throws are failed, rather than instant death. Instant death is rarer. This of course means that players are likely going to be brought to unconsciousness instead when reaching 0 HP. To bring your friends back into play and make sure they don't die due to death saving throws, you should heal your allies when you can, as that instantly brings them back up. As I explained in my healing video, there's usually not a good reason to heal someone except for when they reach 0 HP. The reason why is because healing features and spells are almost always weaker than monsters' damage output. If we follow this strategy, that will lead to yo-yo healing. This is something a lot of people don't like about 5e, it's a system flaw. Like, I totally get it, it looks super dumb going up and down and up and down. And that's where people come up with the idea of giving exhaustion when you go down. This does add more threat to going down to 0 HP, and one that remains until you somehow remove the levels, which is usually after combat or even after a long rest. Now the question is, does this fix anything? I already answered no, and I'll tell you why right now. There's multiple reasons actually. This increases the gap between strong builds and weaker builds. Damage done per damage taken is the most important metric we have. This is something I've touched on in my spiritual weapon is bad video. If you have great defense, your character survives for longer, which is obviously the goal. However, the speed at which players die increases with this exhaustion rule, as it makes reaching 0 hit points more lethal. This hurts people with bad defenses, aka the marshals who got their hands full, and don't have defensive spells to reduce incoming damage. Armored casters with shield, absorb elements, and range spells, and ba-da-ba-ba-ba have an easier time staying above 0 HP. These classes or builds are obviously not hurt equally. Here is something else that I believe is not often considered. Here are 5e's exhaustion levels. Level 1 is not too bad, but of course it hurts. However, if you go down a second time, your speed is halved. This leads to enemies being able to keep up with you, or you being unable to get out of AoEs. You're going to go down quicker. Keep in mind, speed is a defense. That was just a few examples I could think of on top of my head. And then next you get disadvantage on attack rolls and saving throws, which makes it harder for you to finish off enemies. If all you can do is attack rolls like a marshal, you're useless. The only thing I can think of at that point is just take the dodge action. At least the spellcasters can force saving throws. Speaking of saving throws, you also have disadvantage on saving throws, which again makes it really easy for you to go down again. And this just keeps going for all the levels. This is not fun, especially if you're the quote-unquote tank. The thing is, going down is already something players try to avoid because, you know, Going unconscious and dying is bad. There doesn't actually need to be more incentive to not go down. If you think characters survive too often when going down, you can easily make enemies focus fire them. It's really not that complex. When they hit 0 HP, just keep whacking them. You probably have multi-attack. All this rule does is make going down more lethal in the hopes of people casting more healing spells before that time. And you know what? That actually doesn't happen because healing spells still cannot keep up with enemy damage. That doesn't change. Therefore, the best strategy remains yo-yoing. You didn't solve anything. What you should do is consider looking at healing spells instead. 1D&D is buffing them, and I consider that a good thing. Maybe you can do it too. And if it isn't the power of healing you worry about, rather that players are never scared of their characters dying, you need to apply more focused fire. You don't have to do it all the time, but enough for them to worry about it. Smart enemies focus fire. Dumb enemies don't. If you want me to cover more common homebrew rules, let me know in the comments. End the video. If you liked this video, I hope I earned your subscription and maybe even your support on Patreon. Thank you very much for watching and have a nice week, everyone. Play lots of D&D. Bye-bye!